Welcome to this edition of At the Mic. I'm your host, Keith Malinak. This week I sit down with one of those former coworkers of mine again, who I would pass in the hallway all the time and have no idea what they were going through. Jon Seidl and I make up for lost time on this week's edition of At the Mic. But first, let's have a chat about America's 40th president and the man who this month's featured APR coffee blend is named after. Shall we? Ronald Reagan. I mean, sure, he has the nickname the Gipper after his portrayal of Notre Dame football legend George Gipp in the 1940 Hollywood classic Knute Rockne All-American. But make no mistake, Reagan was an actual athlete and excelled on the football field where he played at Eureka College in the 1930s. And one summer, he worked as a lifeguard. Get this, he was credited with saving 77 lives that summer. Oh, man. Well, there's no guarantee that APR coffee is going to transform you into an athlete or even save your life. But the Ronald Reagan blend, with its powerful micro-lot blend of Colombian beans and a sweet and bold caramel flavor, will certainly wake you up. And there's so many flavors to choose from when it comes to the American Pride Roasters coffee collection. I'm partial, as I told you, the Calvin Coolidge blend, the George Washington Carver blend with its sweet kiss of peanut butter. Oh, yes. That flavor is wonderful. The brew named after this podcast, the At the Mic Macadamia Nut Blend, which ironically is the favorite APR blend of my teenage son. I don't think that he knew it was named after me and this podcast, or else he probably wouldn't have admitted that to me one Saturday morning. Again, so many flavors to choose from. Head over to aprcoffee.com. Do try the Ronald Reagan A Time for Choosing blend or any of the other memorable selections. And to check out, be sure to use promo code ATM. You're going to get yourself 10% off your entire purchase. That's aprcoffee.com.
You're listening to At the Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production.
Jon Seidl, like so many, has had struggles in his life. The difference between Jon and so many of us is that he's willing to talk about them. He is candid and honest, and his story could really help somebody. And perhaps even you. All right? So he and I recently sat down and talked about his life story here on At the Mic. I do hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Jon Seidl, how are you, sir?
Man, it is so good. This is like, it's been a weird blast from the past. Walking into the studio, seeing you, seeing everyone.
I've literally not laid eyes on you, well, that you're aware of, for 7 years, man.
When I tried to get the restraining order, they said, we need to know who it is. And I said, I don't know. I just feel like somebody's watching me.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, at least you have a soundtrack in your head whenever you see me near. All right, it's creepy. Okay, so you were born in the great state of Wisconsin.
Yes. Thank you for not saying Wisconsin.
Do people do that?
Yeah, a lot of people, especially
Wisconsin?
Especially a lot of the people that are moving here from California. They changed the I to an E.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
I mean, there's a reason why, generally speaking, I don't care for the people that move from California to Texas. But now I have a new reason to dislike them too. I mean, learn how to pronounce things,
right?
Yo?
Right.
Okay, so you're a proud Wisconsinite.
Yes.
Or should I say Wisconsinite? I still can't believe people do that.
It just grades on you.
Yeah. But now, hold on. You've got a Wisconsin tattoo.
I do.
I do see some tattoos from my vantage point, but where's the Wisconsin one?
Okay, you ready for this?
Wait a minute. Why are you taking off all your clothes? No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. You're not kidding.
Oh no! There
you go. Luckily, we're not on video.
Okay, so what you're not seeing is his entire right breast is the Badger State.
Yes. Yes. So I got that. And
how many tattoos you got over there?
Oh goodness.
Because I don't remember you being tatted up when you were here. Is this a new thing?
A lot of. So I had this one.
What does that say?
Veritas.
Oh, nice.
And I'm gonna say this because not many people remember this.
Uh-oh.
But do you notice what this is?
Hold on a second. I'll be right back, y'all. I gotta go and get a closer look. Hang on. Yes, I know what that is. Hang on, I'll tell you what that is. That is the original Blaze logo.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
So this my
The dot of the I on Veritas
yes
is the original Blaze logo that Glenn came up with.
So
Or did somebody else come up with it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe there was a backstory. The
No.
burning bush thing.
Yeah, exactly. So back in the day, this is when we were all still living in New York. And
Oh, what a time that was.
I know, right? And so S.E. Cupp had a show on the Blaze.
Uh-huh.
And her producer, Nick.
Yeah. What's Nick Gillespie doing these
I
days?
don't know.
I got to Google what you
Yeah,
talk.
right?
I mean, I'm totally listening to
that's,
you.
That's
but...
a guest. That's another possible guest.
Yeah.
And so they sent out an email that said, hey, for a segment on SE's show, we want to go to the New York City Tattoo Convention. Would anyone get a tattoo? And I said, yeah, I'll get a tattoo. And then to like make it fun, so Veritas, which is actually the name of my company now, the Veritas Creative.
I always forget that Nick is Reason.
Yes.
Reason Magazine. I always forget that. But anyway, so what did you say? Your company.
Yeah, so the name of my company is the Veritas Creative. So Veritas has always been like truth, like that has always been a big thing. And so then to make it fun, it was like, hey, I'm doing this on the show. You know, I was the first writing hire ever at the Blaze.
Wow, look at that trivia right there.
So I was like, you know what? I think that'd be kind of cool to incorporate some of that. And so that's
Good for you. So that was the first one.
That was
No?
my first one was this little cross here.
Okay.
Now then it expanded
To a tree, like this massive tree that covers the entire upper half of your left arm.
right, and then I have the lion and flowers, and this is maybe we'll get into this later. This is my for lack of a better term, it's my arm of death.
Oh, yeah.
You could also say it's my memoriam arm. So these are the people in my life that have died.
Oh, wow.
So this is a tattoo. I have a tattoo to signify them. This is a rose for my daughter.
Uh-huh.
Then I have.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Yes.
You just said this is an arm of death.
The inside is.
Okay.
The inside. Yes.
thought we
Thank
had
you.
something
Thank you.
really
Yes. Good
Deep
clarification.
to talk about there.
And so my wife and I have kind of started this cool thing where whenever we go on vacation together, wherever we go, we get a tattoo together. So these two tattoos were in Portland. This was like a while ago before it got real crazy. So these were done in Portland. Then this rose and this musical note were done recently, just in the last like month and a half, in Nashville.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to Israel in the fall of 23. And we are going to get tattoos at the world's oldest tattoo shop in Jerusalem. They've been tattooing since 1300. And they have like
insane.
They'll do like anything you want, but they kind of have these like, these are the tattoos we've been doing for literally like hundreds and hundreds of years.
Dude.
And so you kind of pick one of those.
How cool is that? So you're not on Twitter, though.
I am on Twitter.
I mean, you're on Twitter.
I'm just not as active as I once was.
Okay.
Especially when I was in the news business.
Right. Okay, so when this interview posts,
Yeah.
and I tweet out a link and I tag you and all that stuff, you need to put pictures of these tattoos underneath.
That's true.
So what y'all need to do is let's just say at Keith Malinak on Twitter. Good luck spelling it. And then there'll be a post, and then underneath that, John's gonna put
I'll put my tattoos under
pictures
there.
so that people can
Yeah.
pause the podcast and go and take a look. Dude,
I like
that's
it.
cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, so I'm a tattoo guy. I like it. It's just, I like the art of it. I actually like the permanence of it. I like, this is going to sound really weird, but the feeling is kind of cool, you know? Like
The pain?
It hurts a little bit, but like this one, the rose on the top of my arm, man, it just felt like I was kind of getting a massage.
Huh. Okay.
Do you have any tattoos, Keith?
Are you going to... No, I don't. I just wanted to see what you'd say. No, I don't have any. And I just wondered, like, when you get older, are you concerned that, I guess they're not really in places that would be susceptible to, age.
Droopage?
But age, you know what I mean? Like, it looks like you're going to be okay, right?
Well, it's funny, the Wisconsin one on my chest. So I recently lost 70 pounds.
Oh, yeah, good for you, man.
And so, but the funny thing is like Wisconsin has shrunk.
Oh,
no. But in a good way. Like,
in a good way.
Like when I was at my highest, the borders were, we had border creep on Wisconsin on my chest. So
border creep.
So now we're back to original size.
All right. How many tattoos do you have total? Because let me back up.
4 or 5.
So do you have any tattoos beyond the arms and the chest that we've talked about?
9.
Got any on your butt?
No, my wife does.
Okay, well, I didn't ask about your wife.
That's actually a funny thing because her first tattoo she got in New York City, and it says she's a proud Texan.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
whereabouts from Texas?
Houston.
Okay,
She's
not part of Texas.
Tomball.
It's not part of Texas.
So she got one, man. She's gonna kill me when this comes out. I'm so sorry, guys.
No.
I'm so sorry, babe. I love you.
Oh no!
But she got one in New York City that says "Made in Texas."
Oh, that's awesome! No. That's really cool. Yeah, I really respect that.
Except,
wait, what? No.
Depending on who she's telling the story, it's either her lower back, or her upper butt cheek. Because
like the mom, like if she's telling her mom, yeah, it's on my lower back.
Yeah.
If she's telling you or her best friend.
But it really is like this no man's land. It really is like it's not just trying to be cute. Like it's kind of like, man, I can really see that both ways.
I love that. My oldest daughter was born in Houston, and we were in a grocery store or something. And like the dude who goes to the produce or whatever, like had left this roll of Made in Texas stickers.
Oh, really?
And she was maybe 3 months old at the time. So we have this picture because I took a sticker from the Stock Boys' little stockpile there. I slapped it on our little baby blanket, that you get from the hospital and stuff. And it says Made in Texas. And then I mean, we didn't have Twitter back then, but we have this picture, this famous picture of Aslan.
Did you put it on your MySpace?
Yeah. Oh, good call. Right. This was 2003. Yeah, that would have been right in that wheelhouse. Okay, so you're proud of Wisconsin.
I'm proud of it.
Are you a Wisconsin Badgers football fan?
I am.
Because I'm a Nebraska Cornhusker fan, and I don't appreciate what y'all do to us in.
And now the Big Ten, it's like the Big 72.
It is. It is insane. And what do you think about California schools coming in?
I'll tell you, I don't. The thing that I like, and I think you probably like, and we added Nebraska recently because you guys were part of the Big 12. But yet, you guys fit into the mold of what I feel like Big Ten football is.
I mean, in theory, but have you seen us play in the last 10 years?
Right. But
gross.
But I mean, it's more hard nose. It's offensive line. It's running the ball well, and so now we add
again in theory. But go ahead.
We add schools like UCLA and USC, and
weird,
it's like
right?
run and gun offenses. It's the spread. It's the pro style. And so I just fear like, are we going to lose some of that brand of hard nose that we've come to be known for?
It's kind of already gone that direction with some of the offenses in the league.
Yeah, even Ohio State, right? I think is right.
But I'm with you as far as that aura. Well, you start to lose it.
And there was a news story recently that said like, oh, we're actually thinking about adding more. Like
yeah.
All right, let them all in.
I mean, it's college football in particular, but the NCAA is about to have some massive upheaval that maybe before this podcast posts comes to be. Yeah. But I almost see two competing leagues that end up having a championship at some point. So you grew up in Wisconsin.
Grew up in Wisconsin on the shores of Lake Michigan, about 30 minutes south of Green Bay.
Oh, wow.
So huge Packers fan. I'm actually, Keith, I think you should feel very honored. You're talking to an owner of the Green Bay Packers.
Nice. I've got a professional football team owner.
I can tell you, and heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Right. How was that Rodgers thing you had to deal with? You got him re-signed at least.
Yeah, we got him re-signed. I feel like we're in a good spot. We had some conversations.
You lost Devontae Adams.
We did, but when you go from one Hall of Famer to the next Hall of Famer, I've actually been kind of shocked at some of the stuff that he's been saying. But I also get it. Like he said that one of the big factors in his decision was, hey, I don't know how long Aaron's going to be around. And so, he obviously doesn't want to be playing with Jordan Love.
Devontae, right. And by the way, did you, as owner of the Green Bay Packers, did you ever send a thank you card to the Atlanta Falcons for giving you Brett Favre for nothing?
I tell you what.
Just don't tell me anything.
Some of the audio that what was your coach again?
Jerry Glanville.
Yeah. Some of the audio of Jerry Glanville talking to Brett Favre, like in his year there, Like right now, remember that kicker that like sued Urban Meyer for like what he was saying, man. Like Brett Favre could have in today's day and age,
today's world,
like he would have had Jerry Glanville fired in minutes.
Yeah, well, Brett Favre did not help his case in Atlanta, but when you don't show up to the team picture because you're
drunk,
hungover from the night before. Anyway, you had 2 brothers and 2 sisters growing up. One of your sisters was killed.
Yeah,
explain the impact that had on your life, man.
It was really, well, let me back up and say my sister she led a very troubled life, right? Like when I hear news stories of the drug crisis and fentanyl and kind of all that stuff, like my sister was like, she was one of those people, right? I mean, she, from the age of 13, she was experimenting with drugs. And so, she just led a really hard life, but that meant that my time growing up was really chaotic. So, there was just always fighting. So hold on a second. Where is she in relation to your age? She's only about 1.5 years older than I am.
Okay.
So, we're, in age really close.
Right.
And, but like her troubles, I mean, she was in and out of like, youth behavioral facilities. Sure. She was in and out of jail. She spent time in state prison. So our relationship was always kind of weird, right? Not weird in like, not weird and bad, but it's like, we didn't get extremely close, but yet I knew a lot about her, and we had a lot of conversations about her getting clean and kind of all that stuff. But ironically, like her death wasn't related to drugs. She was in a van. She had picked up a new transmission for her car, and some older retired mechanic was helping her out, and some guy crossed the center line on the interstate and crashed into them head on at 70 miles an hour. But what has been like, as I have grown, as I have, because one of my big things, and I know we'll talk about this, is mental health. Mm-hmm. And having written a book on it, I mean, I just finished a workbook for my book, and I dedicated it to my sister. And I think one of the things I said in the dedication was, listen, I didn't fully understand you while you were alive, and now I understand you so much better. And I think I have really grown in just how I view people who struggle with addiction. It's less black and white than what I originally thought growing up, Mm-hmm. In growing up, I'm just like, her name was Jenny. I'm just like, Jenny, just stop, and it's just not that easy, and so people listening who have struggled with addiction, people listening who know people who struggle with addiction, I think I have become so much more in tune with what that means and looks like and what it takes to come out of that.
How old was she when she died?
31. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was young, left behind 3 kids. Oh. So not to be such a downer, but it actually has really shaped me over the last 3 years. It's reshaped our family.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Oh. How old were the kids roughly then when she was?
So the oldest had just gotten like her driver's license. The second one was in like junior high, and then the young one was 3.
Oh man!
So my other sister though has taken my my youngest niece, and that's been a really cool, beautiful picture. To see just a family member step in, and just what that has done to stabilize, because even though she was 3, I mean, her life was really unstable living with my sister who died, right? Yeah. And in fact, there was, and I say this as an encouragement to anyone listening, like we had to make a really hard decision right before my sister died. Like weeks before my sister died, we found out that she was leaving my 3-year-old niece at home to go on like drug runs. Oh. And so we stepped in, we got the police, we got social services involved, and like had her taken, the young one taken away. And as a person of faith, like I can see how things happen for a reason. And what I can tell you is when my sister got in the car accident, there was a car seat in the back. And in fact, when the police first got on the scene, they kind of knew my sister, right? Like they knew that my niece was always with her. And they searched the ditches for like an hour because they're like she always has her child with her.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, like that, we had just gotten her taken away. And so my little niece, I mean, I can show you pictures of the van that she was driving in. I mean, it's unrecognizable as a vehicle. And so my niece would have been
Sure.
killed instantly.
Did we ever find out like why this guy crossed the line or?
Yeah, it's interesting because he stopped at a like hardware store right before, and he made an interesting purchase. He made a purchase of a can of cleaner that you like, the compressed air cleaner. And so while they've never made an official determination, there has been speculation that he may have used that to get high.
Yeah.
And because he was pulling a trailer too, and so there's no skid marks, like nothing. It was just like off the road in the median in the interstate in Wisconsin, where that, it's kind of rural, right? So like here, you've got the medians and the concrete pillars. Right there, it's just like a culvert in the middle, and so just,
God. And the old man that was helping her,
he died as well. So all three people that were involved in the crash died.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned your book, your passion project.
Yeah.
Really. Give us the title of that book.
It's called Finding Rest.
Okay. Tell us about that, and then I want to also take this moment to tell people that as this podcast posts, it won't be too long before the workbook that goes along with what you're discussing is available. It might be available right now for pre-order.
I know. I should check that.
Right. So,
like, I need to be a good person.
Yeah, you need to be a salesman. So, Finding Rest.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the name of the workbook as well? Okay.
It's going to be just a different subtitle.
Okay.
So the book is called Finding Rest. The long title is Finding Rest, A Survivor's Guide to Navigating the Valleys of Anxiety, Faith, and Life.
Okay.
And so it's actually interesting, Keith, because when we were working together all those years ago, for most of that time, I had undiagnosed anxiety and OCD. And
you never know what someone else is going through. You just never know.
And what's interesting is, on one hand, that made me a very productive person, right? We were kind of talking like I was the first writing hire of the Blaze. Like I worked my way up to managing editor and very driven, right? Always, I don't just meet deadlines, I exceed deadlines. I don't just, I never do things, half-ass.
Man,
right?
I'm the same way. I mean, it is all or nothing, right?
Right. And so
what's the point? Right? What is the point of getting involved in something if you're not going to completely give everything, but yet there are consequences?
Right. And so what I realized, so that was the good side of anxiety. And so I actually talk about that in the book. Anxiety is not all bad, right? It's really self-preservation. It's fight or flight. Like I went to Alaska a few years ago and dropped in the middle of nowhere, and like I had to use an outhouse. And guess what? I brought a shotgun with me when I went to the outhouse. Why? Because I had anxiety that I was going to get eaten by a bear.
Oh, you know what I mean? Like kind of, I call that proper planning.
Right. But really, that's the best case form of anxiety, right? But for me, it got really bad, and so part of my story is getting to the end of even my time at the Blaze, and I had just gotten diagnosed pretty soon before I left, and it was such a freeing moment, and I imagine it's kind of like, and I've never had cancer, but I imagine it's someone who's, maybe they've just had uncontrollable stomach pain for years, right? And they find out, hey, you have a tumor in your stomach. On one hand, you're like, dang, I have a tumor in my stomach, right? But on the other hand, you're like, I know what to fight back against.
Right.
Now we can get a treatment plan. Now we know, going forward. And so that's what my diagnosis was for me.
What was it for you that pushed you to the point where you sought help? Like, was there an experience?
This is a great story. This is a great story.
Okay.
So you can't see right now, but I'm holding a cup of 7-Eleven coffee.
I mean, while it is good stuff, it's what I have only in a pinch because APR Coffee, aprcoffee.com, the sponsor of this program, that's the greatest coffee ever, I'd like to point out.
Absolutely.
I only have the 7-Eleven when I'm like, oh, crap, I'm on the road here.
Right. Exactly. That's great point. Cha-ching! I don't just...
No, and the Calvin Coolidge blend, I would like to point out, is a wonderful blend.
One of our nation's most underrated presidents.
Oh, without question. In fact, I think I took it home already. Yeah, a listener did a 3D printing of the Calvin Coolidge bust for me, as I am such a big fan. And
we got George here.
And I took that home. Yeah, they sent George Washington to Pat.
Okay.
Which you see there.
Yeah.
He's hanging out there next to you. So how does a cup of coffee work into your story?
Okay, so when we moved from New York City, when the Blaze moved me and you and a lot of people here, and after a couple years, we were living in downtown Dallas, and there was a morning where my wife and I decided, hey, let's. It was like a Saturday morning. And there's kind of this cool coffee shop and these swanky lofts that we lived in.
Did you have any kids at this time?
No kids.
Exactly. That's
yeah,
that's how it goes.
Absolutely.
Your Saturday mornings, your memories are at a coffee shop, getting bagels. In my case,
at one in the afternoon.
Yeah,
still
sure.
the morning.
Yeah, as opposed to your Saturday mornings soon become spent at softball and baseball fields. But continue.
Yeah, at like 6 in the morning because it's so hot.
So hot. It's like the schedule comes out and you're like, do I have an 8 a.m. game or a 1 p.m. game?
Right.
Why, another 1 p.m. game for you guys?
Goodness.
This is ridiculous. It's 100 degrees. Anyway, continue.
Who's got the cooler?
Right.
So we decided to get coffee. And, part of my OCD is being particular about things. Now, and I'll explain a little bit more. It's not like, I'm not like Howie Mandel where I have to wash my hands or, I check the door 75 times. But it manifests in other ways. And one of the ways it manifests is I hate Splenda.
Oh, me too.
I hate Splenda with a passion. I think it makes things taste like dirty sock water. Okay?
That's a good one. I like that, yeah.
So my wife is sitting there at the coffee shop and I say, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom. You get our coffee and then we'll kind of start our walk downtown.
Okay.
And I said, remember, no Splenda. Great, got it. I come back from the bathroom. She hands me my coffee. I take a drink and it's like, classic spit take. Like I'm like, what is in this? Now this is where our stories diverge a little bit, which means you should probably believe her story. But I'll tell you my version.
Okay.
My version is I got upset and kind of stormed out and was like, I can't believe you put Splenda in this. I told you not to. She says I made quite a scene and was raising my voice, which is very possible.
No.
And so it was that moment. So like for the rest of the weekend, like I couldn't get over the fact that she put the wrong sweetener in my coffee. Right. And, it's like a day later and she's just like crying and broken down and saying like, John, this isn't normal. And so it was that moment that I realized, yeah, I think you're right. And then you start thinking about other things. And so, for example, like if I would send an email, I would go back and reread that email 50 times. I would have to reread it. And if you can imagine the amount of time I lost with my wife, think about after a long day, you send an email to someone and I'm going home and rereading it 50 times. So I started looking back and being like, okay, things are not normal and not right. And so I went to, I scheduled an appointment with a psychiatrist, but it was like 2 weeks until I could get in.
How long had all this anxiety and OCD stuff been going on your whole life? Or did it just come to a head at that time? Or had it just been a recent development? So
I think in looking back, I can trace my first episode back to when I was, I think 12. So I have...
How old are you right now?
I am 35.
And how old were you when this started happening, this coffee thing?
This was in 2014.
Okay, so take off 8. What are we at, 27?
Yeah.
So you had about 15 years of not being diagnosed, roughly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so my OCD manifests in what's called intrusive thought OCD. And so really it's just like you start thinking about something you can't get it out of your head. So I scheduled an appointment with a psychiatrist, and I had to wait 2 weeks, which I tell people, like, if you want to figure out if you have an anxiety disorder, just have to wait 2 weeks before you see a psychiatrist about your anxiety disorder, and you start realizing, oh, I really ain't. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I get in there. The guy looks like Doc Brown, like the psychiatrist, which oddly gave me comfort. I'm like, I kind of want my psychiatrist to look like Doc Brown a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Like maybe like a coffee stain, like yellow pits in his t-shirt.
Did he call you Marty?
And he did not call me Marty.
All right.
And so, I mean, not too long after, he's like, hey, listen, you have what's called GAD, generalized anxiety disorder with OCD. And it's kind of one of those, if you think of one of those circle diagrams, it's like everyone who has OCD has anxiety. Not everyone who has anxiety has OCD.
Okay.
I hit the bullseye. I got both. Yay!
Let's have a party.
Yeah. So that's kind of my story, and that diagnosis really changed my life. Was able to really kind of finally fight back, and so my book is really an examination of what it looks like to live with this, how to fight back, especially as a person of faith. I think the Christian community hasn't dealt with mental health disorders really well. They kind of chalk it up to a lack of prayer, a lack of faith, and that's just
like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's right. You're not a good enough Christian. Right. Which is so stupid, and so this book is kind of an affront against that, and so it did really, really well. And so now I have a workbook coming out for people to kind of go deeper. So the workbook is called Finding Rest: An Invitation to Go Deeper. And so there's the plug. It's been cool, and it's been cool to see the people that have rallied around it. I mean, one of those people, Brad Thor, who I know you guys know well.
Yeah, previous guest on this show.
Yeah, and who I met during my time at the Blaze. Brad's posted about the book several times. Cool. And because as a result of COVID, so many more people have been finding themselves with an anxiety disorder, right? And people have asked me that, and then we can move on. But I liken that to about what I had with shingles. So not recently, actually, 2015, 16-ish, I was getting ready for a motorcycle trip, and I realized that in order to go on a really long motorcycle trip, you have to practice. Like, you have to get your butt used to sitting in the seat for so long. Oh, no. Yeah, so I'm sitting, like, and again, because it's Texas in the heat, like, my brother-in-law would have to get up at, 5 in the morning and do, 3 hours worth of riding. And so, one day I come back from a Saturday ride, and I've got this, rash, and it's really bothering me to the point where, I'm, stripping off all my clothes because I can't have anything touch it. And long story short, I see a buddy later that day. He's like, let me see that. And I'm like, okay. He looks at it. He's like, you have shingles. I'm like, at this time, what am I, 20-something? I'm like, I don't have shingles. That's for old people, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, I went in and I have shingles. And what I had found, and maybe people know this, maybe they don't. Shingles, if you've ever had the chickenpox virus, you have shingles. Oh. The shingles is a reemergence of the chickenpox virus from your spine. Huh. So, and what happens is, the reason it does happen in old people is because your immune system starts breaking down, so it kind of breaks free. Or if you have really stressful events. So I talked about having anxiety, and basically kind of an anxiety period in my life allowed that shingles to break through.
Wait a minute, I'm constantly stressed. I did have chickenpox as a kid. How have I avoided the shingles, John?
I don't know. Do I need to drink your blood or something?
Wait a minute. I don't get that. No.
Get your antibodies. So and that's really what I think COVID has been, right? Everyone has some sort of anxiety, right? And yet,
whether it's the isolation, whether it's the fear of the COVID, whether it's any number of things. Yeah.
And so COVID has kind of been that impetus, that event that allows it to break through into more of a clinical expression. So So that's been my experience, and I can just tell you that like the reaction that I've gotten from people who have read the book and found it helpful, not just saying this, but it's just been like mind blowing.
That's great, man.
And the response, I was just went down to Nashville and was on Mike Huckabee's show to talk about it, and so just being able to talk about this to a wider audience has been awesome.
Finding Rest: An Invitation to Grow Deeper. Look for the book and the very soon to arrive workbook that goes along with that. Now, if you were born and raised in Wisconsin, how did you end up getting to King's College in New York City?
I'm realizing how many crazy stories I have.
That's the point of this show.
I know,
bro.
it really is. Jeez, Keith, it's like you're a really great interviewer or something. So I think this was, so I graduated high school in 2005. Okay. And so this was, not the Wild West days of the internet, but it was like, where you didn't quite understand that if you put your information somewhere, it would get broadcast everywhere else, So there was this site where like you could put in what you were interested in going to college for, and they billed it as like, we will let those colleges, like we'll let them know and they'll reach out to you. And I'm like, this sounds awesome, right? Well, I fill that out and I just get like hundreds and hundreds of college pamphlets delivered to my house. And then I got this one, and it was addressed to, so my name is Jon Seidl, right? Mm-hmm. It was addressed to Jonathan Seidl. So I was Irish, apparently.
Wait, do you get offended when people pronounce it Seidel? Like, I think I did probably.
I no.
You just let it go?
It's a term of endearment from you, Keith.
Oh. Okay, so Jon Seidl.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. And so it was Jonathan Seidl. And the address was wrong, and yet I still got this pamphlet, and it was for this really, like, up-and-coming college in New York City, and I had thought I was always going to go into politics. Oh. I was going to be the next press secretary of the United States. Like, that was my goal.
Would you still like that job if someone offered
you could not pay me $1 billion. Well, I mean, $1 billion. I would do it for $1 billion. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You can fake it for a little while.
Yeah,
sock
exactly.
some of that away and then call it a career.
Right.
Okay, so you always thought you were going to be in politics,
right?
But
and so,
you get this thing in the mail.
Well, this school actually has a specialized degree called politics, philosophy, and economics. And so I was like, this is awesome. This is perfect. So I'd go and visit, and I'm like, perfect. And I get to the school, and I start my journey to become the press secretary of the United States. Yeah. And what I realized was it's a liberal arts school.
King's College.
So they really put a lot of emphasis on writing.
Okay.
And so I started doing my writing classes, and I kind of found that I was good at it. Okay. Right? And professors started affirming like, hey, we really think you have an ability here. You might want to explore this. And so I started exploring that, and like within a couple of years, I'm like, I don't want to be press secretary. I want to be a writer, right? I want to be a journalist. And so...
Did you want to write political speeches, do you think? Or no, we're getting away from politics completely at this point.
I would say that would have been as political as I would have wanted to go at the time. Okay. But I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to talk about the way that the world worked and help people understand that, and so I got internships at magazines in college. I was the summer between my junior and senior year, I had a magazine sending me out, won an award that year. And so I was like, okay, like this is what I'm going to do. And in fact, actually, this is just coming to me. That summer where I decided to take the internship at the magazine, I had two possibilities in life. You ready for this?
Okay.
I could either take the internship and travel around the country and write stories, or I could work on a dude ranch in Colorado with no cell phone signal, and I highly considered that. I had a horse growing up, and I always wanted to be a cowboy.
Well, that's a tough call.
So I applied.
That's tough, dude.
Yeah, and this was before Yellowstone, okay? I liked Yellowstone before it was cool to like Yellowstone, because I was literally, a day away from making a decision to be a cowboy on a ranch in Colorado.
Flip a coin? What'd you do?
Funny thing, the owner of the ranch called me, and it was kind of like the final thing. And he's like, hey, like they had offered me the job. He's like, we'd love to have you. He goes, I just have one question. Do you have a serious girlfriend? And I said, yeah, I do. And so he said, like, how serious? And I'm like, well, I'm actually thinking about like asking her to marry me this summer. And he said, don't take this job. And I said, what? So this is one of the only places, and it's what's crazy is it's still the case. Like there's like no cell phone signal out there. It's like in the valley, it's called Lost Valley Ranch. They're great people. And out in Colorado. And he's like, you will not be able to talk to your girlfriend, hopefully fiance, for like, 4 months. And he's like, I just don't recommend that. Like if you're serious about this girl, like you need to pursue her. Like you need to, be there and ask her to marry you. And he's like, so don't take this job. And I'm like, okay, I won't take the job.
Made the decision for you.
Took the writing job. And like, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, very cool. All right. And that's Lost Valley Ranch.
Lost Valley Ranch in Colorado. It's a really cool place. Really cool place.
Huh.
It's like you take your family there and you kind of basically become, it's like a working vacation. Mm-hmm. And they have activities and shows.
No cell signal.
And no cell signal.
What's the elevation?
I don't know.
How far away is the nearest town of consequence?
Far.
All right. I was about to say I was going to call you from Lost Valley Ranch, but no, I'm not going to.
You're going to send me a smoke signal.
Not going to be able to call you. Okay, so I want to know, at what point in your life did you pass an FBI background check? What's that all about?
Not an FBI background check. Yeah. I passed the FBI entrance exam.
Wow, what's that all about, man?
So I had always, like, besides wanting to be press secretary, I kind of had this deep desire to, like, I have a very strong justice engine. Like growing up, let me put it this way. I watched Silence of the Lambs way too young, but instead of messing me up.
You and me both.
Yeah. I'm like, I want to be Clarice.
Oh, no.
And so I had always kind of had this desire. And so here's the secret. You want to hear this?
Okay.
I was actually working at the Blaze and I decided like I had found out some of the process to get into the FBI. And in fact, my journalism and writing background made me attractive to them just because, you're used to digging for facts. You obviously have a high, hold truth in high regard. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of filled something out through their website and kind of made it past the first thing. And they invited me to take the entrance exam. And so I went to this, like, can I just say, it was like this warehouse district. And I like show up and it's like have you seen the show Severance?
Mm-mm.
Okay, no. If anyone's seen the show Severance, this is like very sterile environment. There's like computer, cubicles, and you take this entrance exam, and it's like a lot of logic and what would you do in this and so I take it and I pass, and I'm like, holy crap, like this may become a reality,
Wow.
And so the next step was I had to pass the physical fitness test. And so you may remember this, Keith, or not, but like around this time, I had lost about 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. And it was because I was getting in shape for this physical fitness test.
Oh, wow.
Oh gosh, man, you're bringing out all the good stories.
That's what we do here.
For our anniversary is in May. So I'm training to pass the FBI physical fitness test. And my wife and I go up to the casino just north of the border here.
Mm-hmm. I'm very familiar.
And I just, for our anniversary trip. And
shout out to the world's biggest casino.
I get the bright idea that like there's a mechanical bull and I'm like, I'm going to tame this mechanical bull.
Oh no.
And so I hop on.
Oh no.
And I obviously don't last really long. And I get thrown off and I kind of was like, oh, that hurt a little bit, Long story short, like you fast forward like 7-8 months, my shoulder had been degenerating ever since then.
Yeah, been there.
And so I could not, I couldn't do the physical fitness aspect of the FBI test.
Oh no, man.
Found out that I had torn my labrum and my rotator cuff and had to have surgery. Yeah, I think we could. I remember that.
I'm kind of having flashbacks
Yeah,
now.
I'm
You
kinda-
asking me questions or something,
Yeah.
and me saying, "Yeah, it sucks." I remember because this room that we're in now, that is Pat Gray's studio at the Blaze TV radio network.
But it used to be like over here.
It used to be. I would sit there where Pat sits now.
Yeah.
Natasha would sit here where the TVs are.
Yes.
And if you'll recall, where you hear when Mike Sacco would sit in this corner and screen calls. And I remember a calendar used to hang in front of this window that now leads into the control room where Corby sits and all that good stuff. And I remember one day walking in here thinking, wow, I haven't needed a pain pill today. And I just happened to be looking at the calendar, and it was 3 months to the day from my surgery, and my doctor said, you will be in pain for 3 months following this surgery. Mm-hmm. And I remember going, oh, neat, okay. And I just remember looking up that day going, I haven't needed a pain pill. Oh my gosh, it was 3 months to the day.
Yeah.
It is a massive, massive undertaking. For me, it was aggravating in so many ways. One of them was that, not related to the internals, but it was the tape they used, like the irritant. I was always itching. But my point is, that was my left arm. I'm right-handed. I cannot imagine what I went through with my dominant arm. Was it your dominant?
It was my dominant.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Yep.
And so that is what kept you out of the physical exam
Yep.
for the FBI.
And it's crazy because like I will still from time to time, like if I pick up groceries, I can still feel that arm is trying to compensate. Like
Oh,
it
man,
is.
that's not good.
It's crazy.
That's not good. My left arm now is in much better shape than my right arm.
Oh, really?
The surgery was excellent. I mean, excellent. The recovery was not fun, and I need it. I need the same thing probably in my right arm. I've been
What was
told.
what was yours? Like why?
Mine was a cheap shot in a church softball league. I never slide head first. I slid in head first into third base, and when you're a 300-pound third baseman for the Methodist Church in Somerville, South Carolina, you apparently hold grudges since I was stretching a couple of throwing errors goading them into throwing the ball around, and I ended up getting from home to third in one. It's a long story. But anyway, and I paid the price, and he just WWE'd right on my shoulder while I was stretched out at the end of the play, and just severed everything. I mean, it was like you said, the rotator cuff, it was the labrum, it was, and eventually it was arthritis, it was a cyst, it was all sorts of stuff. There was a bicep tear. It was insanity. But the surgery, I will say, was incredibly successfal.
Yeah.
Not the case with you, huh?
Well, no, like I said, it's just every once in a while. Like if I were to hold up 2 gallons of milk, like a gallon of milk in each hand, it's just a little,
You can feel that, yeah.
you know, not
Honestly,
pain,
yeah.
but just like a little weaker.
So my right arm is just degenerated from just throwing, pitching, baseball, just whizzing it here for however many years of baseball and softball, you know? The left arm was obviously the trauma of that instance. Yours was a trauma from the bull thing that you just kind of land. I swear, man, when I hear of a torn labrum in a football player or something, I go, oh,
Yeah.
that's all. Or I see how people land
Yeah.
in sports, and I think, oh gosh, that has flashbacks. So that moment, did you feel the lightning bolt going through?
Yes and no. Like I remember being like, oh, that's going to be sore tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
But it in a way, it kind of just like got progressively worse. And actually, I was playing a lot of softball. And that's when I realized I had a major problem because, you know, months and months later,
Yeah.
I got to the point, I remember showing up to the ball field and I played second base. So I don't have a lot of long throws, right? And I was taking just grounder practice and I went to throw to first base and I couldn't get the ball to first base from the second baseman's position.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is
Not good.
this is awful,
Yeah.
right? Like something's wrong. And you know how it is. Like, I don't know if they did this with you, but I went to the doctor like, okay, we got to start with physical therapy.
Yeah, you gotta let's see if exercise strengthen around
And
the
I'm like,
muscles.
guys, I'm telling you
That's
something's
exactly
wrong.
what I did, yeah.
And in fact, they didn't find any of the tears right away. They did an MRI and they're like, oh, you're good. I'm like, no, I'm not good. I can't, like, it got to the point where I couldn't lift my arm. I was having trouble taking a shower.
Yeah.
So they finally did the MRI with contrast.
Yeah, that's what they did.
And that's when they found the labrum tear. And then when they went in to fix the labrum, they're like, oh, We
all this
also
other stuff.
found the rotator cuff.
Yeah. And then the list goes on, right? Yeah, for me, I couldn't, when I would carry groceries, I'd have to hold my arm straight down.
Yep.
But what really pushed me over the edge was my regimen at night was, a handful of Advil and whiskey, and I couldn't pick up my kids. And I was like, that's not living.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad you got some relief.
So we are so alike. We're alike in so many ways.
Getting old sucks. Am I right? Okay.
I feel it every day.
So yeah, amen.
By the way, there is a story we have to make sure we get to. It's near the end. I just want to make sure.
Near the end, we can't do it now. You'd rather hold on to the end?
No, we
Here,
can do it
I'll
now.
Make a note. Give me
I'm saying it's near the end of my questions.
Oh, yeah. Jon Seidl sends me these answers last night. Didn't have time to go through them before the conversation to take some notes and ask follow-ups. So we'll just go through these
It's
together.
the story that I pooped my pants at a wedding.
Well, now you've already...
We'll get there.
Okay.
See, we got to keep it Keith. I don't know if you know radio,
Stick
but
around.
You've got to
Stick around, y'all. We're going to talk about poop. That'll hold the audience, John. Okay. When I ask you to explain your job, you call yourself a storyteller, which makes total sense.
Yep.
The unique thing about your book is that you're telling your own story.
Yep.
As opposed to what you typically do, which is you tell other people's stories.
Yep.
Companies' stories. Tell us about your day-to-day when you're not writing your own book.
Yeah.
Being an author, a digital media consultant, what is it that you... Like when you take us through a typical John day.
Oh, great question. So, I call myself I have a business, a company now that does digital media consulting, and people are like, "What is that?"
Yeah, what's the name of it? Do you want
The Veritas Creative.
The Veritas Creative. You already said that. My bad.
No, that's okay. And people are like, "So what does that exactly mean?" And I say, "Well, it's whatever the client needs, right?"
Oh, yeah, that's good.
For some clients, I'm helping develop an app right now for a client, and I'm in charge of, all the content that's going into the app, right? So I'm leading a team and helping them write content.
Okay.
Another client, they need, regular blog posts written. So I write those.
And you're like a ghostwriter.
Well, that one's under my name, but then I also do ghostwriting, right? So I have a book that I'm working on with a client now, and I'm ghostwriting it for them. And it's just a variety of having been in the digital media space. I've created courses for Kirk Cameron and done video content with him. That's one of the things I did after the Blaze. Worked at a nonprofit called I Am Second, which films celebrities and stars and their stories. And so I worked with them on the Chip and Joanna Gaines video. And so there's just a variety of things that I do in my life, whether it's from helping people create Facebook ads to, ghostwriting books. And so anything that's been in the digital media space, which is so much now, is what I do. I've also direct, right? I have a client who needed a director to come in and direct videos of people telling their stories. So instead of writing them out, I directed behind the camera. So it's just it's a variety of things. So in my typical day, I'm up, I bring the kids to school. So I bring my son and my daughter. Right now it's daycare. It will be school by the time this airs. And so that means I'm going to have to get up even earlier.
Oh, no.
Then I kind of do some personal reflection time, and then I get into it. I get, whether that's for the day, if that's writing a blog post, whether that's coming and doing an interview.
Yeah, so, you're in front of a computer all the time.
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
And, but you get to work from home then?
I do.
Nice.
I do. And actually, I tricked out my office recently.
Cool.
I have the curved monitor.
Oh.
Yeah. I have a neon behind me with my work logo.
Okay.
And because in the era of COVID, you do so many Zoom meetings now.
Yeah.
And so I told my wife, she's like, "Do you really need all that?" I'm like, "Listen, this is what people see of me mostly, you know?" And I can't tell you how many compliments, but I will say my wife is an interior designer. She has her own interior design business. Okay. And so I'm always quick to give her the credit.
Oh.
Because I had to run everything by her.
Of course, right. I took a picture of you here for the thumbnail for this podcast, but if you want to take a selfie or have somebody take a picture of you in front of your company logo, you send it to me and we'll use it as a thumbnail here for this episode.
Ooh,
You'd be thinking about that. You'd be thinking about that. So you mentioned your 2 children.
Yeah.
Annie and Jack. They are 7 and 4.
7 and 4.
That's an exciting time, man. Isn't it great?
We're finally getting out of it with the 4-year-old, like he's coming out of toddler stage, right? So you can actually have some mostly reasonable conversations.
You're getting there.
You know, there's still some things like he was upset and mad this morning about something, and it was because I ordered him an airplane kit we're going to make together.
Okay.
And yesterday I told him it's coming today, and he was so mad because he went to the front porch this morning and he just could not get the concept of like,
oh no,
Amazon packages don't come until, near the end of the day.
Yeah.
Daddy, you told me it was coming today and it's not here.
Yeah, here's the thing, Jack. Daddy didn't pay for expedited shipping.
I had to pay the $3 to get at
there
4
by 8 a.m. Yeah, that 4 to 8 a.m. window. Sorry, Jack. Dad let you down.
Yeah.
But maybe when you get home today, you'll have it there.
Let me take that out of your college fund, sir. Yeah.
So that's cool, man. Well, I mean, that's just an exciting age that your kids are.
But I'm a girl dad, man. My daughter I love having a daughter, and now it scares me to death in the era that we're growing up in.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Clean those guns, man. Clean
it's
them.
just like, we were watching. Man, now I'm gonna get on a soapbox. We were watching like a Jurassic World cartoon the other day.
Okay. Let me guess. There was some sort of propaganda or something that was against your parenting style that came up. Yeah, it always happens. I mean, it's literally everything.
It's rated like TVY7. It's a new season. It's called Camp Cretaceous Jurassic World, right? I'm like, okay. It's about dinosaurs.
Yeah, cartoon. What was it on? What streaming? Was it Disney? Or
Netflix.
Netflix. Okay.
And all of a sudden, so I'm kind of like working on something on the couch. My daughter's watching it, and all of a sudden I look up and there's like a lesbian relationship and like
with dinosaur cartoon characters.
No, like there's humans in it.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's ridiculous in of itself.
But I'm just like
having the humans in with the dinosaurs. That's not historically accurate.
Well, I mean, as we've known from 6 Jurassic Park movies, right? This always ends. Oh, yeah. This always ends poorly.
I forgot this was connected to the franchise.
Yes.
So this is modern times.
Yes.
I got you now.
Yes.
I got you. Sorry.
And I'm just like, all of a sudden it just precipitates some questions, and I'm just like, I just want a cartoon that I can put on while I'm, half paying attention and not have to look up and be like, I mean, and first of all, like, even if can we just like not have any romantic relationships in a
7-year-old
in a TV show for 7-year-olds?
Right. Unreal, right?
And then to like do that, and so it just kind of scares me the era we're living in. Just like kids are being exposed to things way younger.
Right. Well, this podcast posting during football season, and I will say this: I want my kids to watch Falcons games with me. And they do a little bit, okay? But it's not the end of the world that they don't. And the reason it's not the end of the world that they don't is because of all the commercials that come up during it. You can't walk away, when they go in between the quarters to go and, take a leak and come back, because you have no idea what your kid has seen in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's so, and there's all sorts of objectionable things that unless you're sitting there glued to the TV while they're present, I can't tell you how many times they turn around, look away, where's the remote,
Mm-hmm.
So what I do, and this is pathetic, well, actually, it would be considered child abuse if I forced my kids to watch the Falcons games, but I still want them to enjoy the things that I enjoy, and so football is one of them. Even that is trying to be ruined by the woke mob, and they've been successful in some areas, but I turn them loose in front of the Red Zone channel. Because the Red Zone channel is football
constantly
uninterrupted by commercials. And I feel a little bit safer in that respect. I am sacrificing, as a Falcons fan, my kids' fandom right along with me. Okay, you're going to be upstairs? All right, just keep Red Zone on. And then I feel more comfortable because there's no commercials. You never know what's going to happen.
So I feel like I'm crotchety because I have not been able to get into Red Zone. I've tried it a couple times.
Fine. It wasn't a Red Zone judgment.
You're missing the point here,
Yeah,
son.
the point is you got to put something in front of them that has no commercials.
Yeah, right.
So you can walk away to go grab a snack or something.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable and it's unrelenting, the assault on your parental values and what you deem as good for your kids. You can't blink and hope for the best in this world. Sorry, I have nothing.
No,
that wasn't a question, really.
No,
I'm just kind of. You talk about soapboxes. Look at me. Sorry.
Well, no, I'm just thinking like you said that phrase, and it's so true. Like you can't blink, and I'm just like, man, imagine if I was like really kind of engrossed in my computer at that point. You know?
Well, see, this is more of a challenge for you and parents of young children than me. My kids are 19, 16, and 14. The insanities of this world have always been there, have always been escalating, especially in the last half century. But in the last 5-7 years, since you've been a parent, the world has gotten so out of control that I thank God all the time that my kids had established that framework, that foundation, that common sense that my wife and I instilled in them before this madness train completely went off the rails. You never had that opportunity.
No. And so like, luckily one of the things my daughter has really gotten into, the older one, is she loves science and stuff. And so there's like right now, the greatest thing is Shark Week. Because in general, although to your point, like I'm kind of holding my breath, but I'm like, I'm actually waiting for like how they're going to slip in some of the stuff into like the great white sharks eating, seals live on television. I'm like, is all of a sudden they're going to be like some, wedding in the background or something? I don't know, But
awesome.
But like we joke about it. Like in 5 years, I'm going to be back and you're going to be like, John, remember when you joked about the great white sharks and how they were going to slip stuff into it? And
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got the leaked video from the Disney conference call where one of the employees there admitted, I slip in stuff of my own agenda
as much as I can,
places, so I mean there's nothing's outside the realm of possibilities. I want to talk about other jobs that you've held. I cannot imagine working on top of a roof.
Oh my goodness.
Was it in Texas? No,
it was in Wisconsin.
Okay, it was okay. Still, it's not. It can't be pleasant up there.
I think that a lot of people probably have an experience where they realize what they don't want to do for the rest of their life. For me, that was a summer of roofing.
Yeah.
We had a family friend who owned a construction company, and so I was looking for a job in the summer. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come help me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great."
Oh boy.
Man, I would get done on a job like for the day, and I would just be black soot, just everywhere from ripping up roofs and all that stuff. It was one of the most miserable times.
You were praying for rain so you could go home.
Oh my goodness!
I bet you would look at the forecast and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, please rain all day. I want a flood."
Yes, please, yes. And that was even in Wisconsin where the summers aren't bad.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my worst jobs, but also one of, like I said, it was good to know what I do. Like, talk about the motivation to go to college for me. That was it. And now listen, there are some people, like, I don't disparage. My wife and I were talking the other day. We're like, what are we going to tell our daughter about college? And I'm going to say, hey, if she wants to go, great. But if she doesn't, really become a fan of what Mike Rowe has been talking about.
Absolutely.
And I actually got to meet him here when I was at the Blaze, and that's kind of really when he started that. Mike Rowe Works, and he had left Dirty Jobs at that point. Now he's back. And so I have grown in my thinking of like, listen, if my kids don't want to go to college, like I don't view that as like a failure.
No, not at all.
My grandpa was a plumber, a small business owner. Right? Like if my son wants to become a plumber, listen, There are plumbers that make a lot more money than I do.
Yeah. and I'm right there with you. There are so many people that have skills and talents that I will never possess. And you know what? They're very important to me.
Yes.
Because I need running water. I need to be able to flush a toilet. I need a roof on my house. I need my garbage picked up. I would never, in front of my kids or even privately, disparage someone that works with their hands, or it's a blue-collar job, or they go home at the end of a day covered in soot,
yeah.
right? And smell like garbage.
Yeah.
Because what would your life be like without them?
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you 100%. You don't have to go to college to make a good living and do a job that someone somewhere is always
And that's meaningful.
going to need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you were a camera operator covering high school and college sports. You know, I did a brief stint. What was it? Prestige Cable, Cherokee County, Georgia, North Metro, Atlanta. There might be some old community tapes from the cable system up there. Because remember, you used to be local cable companies.
That's what I worked for.
Yeah, so I would be the play-by-play guy for high school sports. You were basically on the staff as the camera operator.
Yeah, that was my first foray into media. So in high school, I was a big football player, but I tore my knee the beginning of my sophomore year. And looking back, I would always kind of blame like losing my passion to play on that. What I realized though, once I was diagnosed with anxiety and OCD, is I kind of had this perfectionism. And once I couldn't perform at the level, instead of being like, hey, you know, I'll just get by or you know, do a different position, I just quit football altogether. And I was approached though. My brother was working as a cable guy for the local TV station, and he said, "Hey, we need camera operators.
All right.
Do you want to do it?" And I said,
go.
"Yeah." It was one of my favorite jobs of all time. So I went from roofing, worst job ever, to being a camera operator, and it was like as many games as I wanted to do, I could do. It was fun on the headset. It was the camaraderie was great. You got to see great, you know, sports, and so I did it all through high school and college.
And that was your first entryway into media.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And so even like when I direct now, you know, it's like I never thought, you know, listening to my director in the headset that I would be doing that. But there are times now where I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool to see that come full circle.
That's really cool. Biggest impact on you, obviously, Jesus and your wife, whose name has caused some confusion in your world. Her name is Brett.
My wife's name is Brett. Yeah, there are. It's funny. We last school year at the beginning of the year, they send out like the parents roster, you know, and all the parents' names and their phone numbers if you decide to be on it. And so they sent it out, and like the first mingling that we did with parents, like my wife and I show up, and like they call them room moms, you know, the ones that kind of take their reins. She's like, "Oh, I thought you guys were not husband and wife, but husband and husband."
And that would have been totally fine, I'd like to point out.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. She went to a Christian college in Colorado after we met in New York. And every year that she got placed in the dorms, she'd show up and she had been assigned to like a guy's dorm.
Oh, God.
And she's like, "You guys do this every year. Can you just like make a note? Brett, she's a woman," you know? But she has been, you know, especially in my journey, my mental health journey, right? Like she has just been such a solid person. And one thing too, and I talk about this in the book a little bit, but is I think we people who may suffer from mental health disorders, we don't realize exactly what our friends and family members go through, especially our spouses. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I even dedicated a whole chapter in the book to friends and family members and spouses on how to deal with this, you know, giving them some love and encouragement. And so she has just been a rock.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Man. That's so great. Let's go into your house here. Where you live with a guy named your wife named Brett. No. And you guys have 3 dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's first just tell me about Gus and Lulu.
So Gus is the OG.
Okay.
The original Guster.
Okay.
We've had him since our first year of marriage.
Cool.
So 13 years.
Nice.
The guy's got tumors all over his body. But they're actually not cancerous. They're like fatty. They're like lipomas.
Yeah.
And I mean, we thought we've been saying it for the last 2 years, like, hey, this is it. But he's not sick. Like he's
still top speed.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
What kind of dog is he?
Oh, so this is fascinating.
Oh, yeah?
He looks like a beagle kind of basset hound, and so that's what we always thought he was.
Yeah.
So I found a sale on the dog DNA tests, and we got it done. The dude's like over 50% Chihuahua, and we're like, what?
Wow.
Like he looks like a hunting dog, like a small,
cool.
compact little Jack Russell hunting dog type thing.
Okay.
The dude's over half Chihuahua.
Okay.
So he sleeps with me every night.
Okay.
Sleeps at the foot.
He's in charge.
Yes, but he's not ornery.
Yeah. They just respect him. The other dogs.
Yeah.
Lulu, what's she like?
She's a mini Australian Shepherd mix, and so she is really smart.
Okay.
She herds everything.
Right. Well, you can break that,
The herding,
Yeah.
but it's not like
My
not
dog
excessive.
Tanner was knocking over the kids. I had to break him of it.
They kind of do that side scoot.
Yeah.
That side scoot.
Come on, kids, we're going in now.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, cool it.
Yeah. So that is funny.
Yeah. Let's talk about Teddy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no, see, this feels like a regret. Like maybe
No regrets.
No regrets. You should have put under any regrets. You should have put
That's
Teddy.
true.
What's going on?
Well,
with
so what happened is
Chihuahua Teddy.
This is a PSA for all you people who buy dogs off the internet.
No.
We did not buy a dog off the internet.
Okay.
My niece, who lives here in Texas, got a wild hair.
Oh no.
I don't know if she was like drinking too much one night or something.
Been there.
She bought this is my air quotes, a teacup Chihuahua
Oh boy.
baby off of Craigslist. Paid like $500 for it. Met like this woman in the parking lot, like hand the dog over, and sure, like as a baby, the thing was about like the size of my fist. You're like, oh, teacup.
Cutie, right?
Well, then the dog started growing up, and it wasn't so teacup. And what my niece didn't realize is that apparently, what we have found out is Chihuahuas are the hardest dogs in the world to potty train, especially small ones.
Wait, I got a Chihuahua Beagle mix.
So,
are you sure Teddy's just not deficient?
well, very, very, very possible.
Wow, because my little Matilda, there's nothing going on upstairs. There's nothing, but she knows when to go out.
Yeah. Well, how old is Matilda?
Well, I mean, we got her I had to wait SPCA. So
Well, Teddy's
puppy.
9 months old.
Okay, so
But what the problem is,
Teddy, come on now.
she gets Teddy. She realizes, I don't have the patience as a 20-something-year-old, young person who's going out and to potty train this dog, not giving him the attention. So she comes over one day and she says, and I just kind of ask, in a little bit of I told you so, because I could tell like the excitement had worn off. I'm like, so how's that little Chihuahua doing?
Oh no.
And she's like, I'm actually about to put him on Craigslist. And I'm like,
For $600.
yeah,
I mean,
right?
you got to make a profit.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, so my wife and I have rescued dogs our whole life.
Cool.
And I know what happens to Chihuahuas that get put on Craigslist, right? Like they become like pit bull bait for some dog fighting ring.
Oh no.
So I stop her and I say, listen,
Oh gosh.
you're not putting that dog on Craigslist. Like we'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it. Well, we didn't know we didn't know the levels of the fact that she hadn't really been providing this dog structure and consistent potty times and like all that stuff.
She's going to be a great parent.
And
no offense.
And now
to the niece.
this dog is like, he chews everything. He poops and pees all over the place. Like this week he started like limping. He's like on 3 legs. So we had the vet. We took him to the vet. And
What did he do? What did he jump off a stair? What?
No, so apparently I found this out again.
Oh, no.
If you would have done your research on Chihuahuas before you bought this dog off Craigslist.
Oh yeah, the little knees.
Yes.
Yeah. Every now and then Matilda will jump off the bed
Yes.
and yip.
They have degenerative.
Yeah, not really
their
anything you
kneecaps pop out.
Yeah.
And so the vet is like, listen, this is just. He's
Way
like,
it is.
yeah, it's just, and he's gotten a little overweight since we got him because like.
And that's what hurts the knees
Yes.
too. So
Yes.
you got to watch the diet.
So then we had to put him on a restricted diet.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can do surgery for this, but he's like, it's really expensive and like it's not worth it.
Yeah, just
you
cut
know?
the food back by 25%.
Right, and
call
he'll
it
lose
done.
weight and
Yeah.
it'll be better.
Yeah.
So that's our saga with Teddy. My wife,
I'm with you.
every day is like, we're getting rid of this dog.
Ooh, careful.
But we
Oh, no.
my daughter had wanted a hamster forever. And my wife was like, I'm not getting a hamster. That thing's going to be dead behind the couch.
Teddy will eat it.
Well, so we said, we'll take Teddy and daughter. This will be your present instead of a hamster.
Cool.
Now my wife is like, why did I not say no to the hamster or say yes to the hamster?
Uh-huh.
The hamster would have been better.
Now you got to rename Teddy Hamster.
Ooh, that's a good
Right?
idea.
And then that'll really
That is a good
confuse
idea.
your child. Okay, so all right, you stay busy as a parent. What do you work with wood or something?
You know, so we had talked about the fact that like I'm in front of my computer
Yeah.
all day, every day, right? And especially as a small business owner, you know, it's like if I have a client who needs something, I'm not within reason, right? But I'm if they email me or they need a file or they need something, like I'm opening it up and I'm sending it off, right? So I'm just in front of my computer a lot. And so what I've realized, and this is something I've realized with my anxiety and OCD, is I need to be doing stuff with my hands, right? I need to be tactile.
Yeah.
So basically every year around Christmas time, because I usually take about 2 weeks off for Christmas, I find a new hobby to work with my hands. So one year it was woodworking. And so I started woodworking. I started an Etsy shop and I was selling like wood coasters and I would brand them for people. The next year I got into knife making.
Wow.
So I had my own forge. Like I watched like every episode of Forged in Fire, and I would forge my own knives
How cool,
and make
man.
my own knife handles and order like exotic woods and so like just like
You're all in.
Yeah, every year. Well, what did we say when we opened up? Like if we're gonna go in, we go all
That's
in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just try to find a new hobby, and so like one year it was motorcycles and like fixing my own motorcycles and like creating baggage out of ammo cans to put on the side of my motorcycle, you know, like it's just stuff like that. So I always have to find something to do with my hands so I can be away from my computer. And so actually my most recent hobby, which this one has stuck, like I don't really do the woodworking, I don't do the knife making anymore, but I love cooking.
Really?
So I do all the cooking in my family.
What?
Yeah, I do all the cooking.
What's your best dish?
Okay. I have two best dishes.
Okay.
And so this also encompasses like smoking meat, right?
Yeah.
So I have a barbecue ranch beans that I take brisket and bacon and brown sugar and they're smoked. I smoke them for hours and they are the best beans you will ever eat in your life.
Okay.
And then I have pork belly burnt ends that I do. So I get
Okay, I'm big into the burnt ends, man.
Yeah, so I get pork belly and I smoke it and for hours and we call it baking like candy.
I might go to Heart 8 Barbecue today and just get the burnt ends.
Can you get just the burnt ends from
You
them?
know what? Maybe not. I might now that you say that, I might walk in there. All right, what do you want here? And there's a dozen choices. Hey, where are the burnt ends? You know what? I don't know that there are.
It's funny.
That stinks.
I did go to a barbecue restaurant recently where you could do that.
Oh, which one was it called? I want to go there right now. Is it in Dallas? Let's go. Come on.
No, I can't
Let's
remember.
forget this interview. We're done.
We're done.
No more questions.
We're gonna go
I'm
eat.
hungry. Okay, hold on. So what's your most prized creation that you've made out in the wood shop or workshop?
I have my dad is really into fishing.
Okay.
He retired down in Tennessee recently, and like basically just fishes like all day, every day. And so
Kind of bugs me that you said down in Tennessee when Tennessee's really over from where we're at in Texas.
it's from
you're
being in
thinking
Wisconsin.
Oh, my
Yeah,
bad, my bad. Okay, carry on. Sorry to interrupt with such a trivial...
I guess that's still my true north. Yeah, so I like I can't remember if it was Father's Day or Christmas or his birthday or something. It was when I was really into knife making, and so I made him a fillet knife.
Oh, nice.
For his fish, and I made it out of, I'm trying to remember the wood. It might have been like paddock or something. It was like, or purple heart, or it's just a really beautiful, beautiful wood.
Wow.
And the knife blade was, I actually didn't forge this knife blade. You can buy the knife blanks.
Yeah, my son makes knives. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so, because I actually tried to do the forge on my own, and it was like, it was like 100 degrees outside like it is now. And then you like fire up this forge, which is like 70,000 degrees.
No.
And I was like, I would lose weight
right.
really fast in the garage.
Yeah, if I have to do anything in my garage here in Texas, it's December through February or nothing.
Yes. So that is one of my most prized possessions. In fact, my dad just texted me a couple days ago. He showed me a picture of this like massive fish that he caught. And he's like, hey, used my fillet knife that you made me, to fillet this fish. So I would say that's my most prized. I love that knife turned out really well, and the fact that it's for your dad and he's using it. And, it just means a lot.
That's really cool. Okay, so you're into country music. If there is one artist that you want me to listen to, this is your last ditch effort to get me into country music. 46-year-old guy who literally only likes Garth Brooks' greatest hits. Devil Went Down to Georgia. That's pretty much where it ends for me. What would you have me listen to on the drive home today? On my way to the burnt end store.
Okay, so maybe let me alter this a little bit.
Okay.
I think what the music... I like country / Americana, right? So there's a few artists that I feel like really fall into that category. So I'm gonna give you 4, but I am gonna give you my top 1.
Okay, I'm writing them down. And just go from 4 to 1.
Okay, 4 to 1. Larry Fleet. He's kind of a newer guy.
Okay, Larry Fleet.
He's more on the countryside.
Okay.
Luke Combs.
Yeah. Okay.
I like him. Mm-hmm. And then now we're getting into the more Americana. Okay.
Okay.
Jason Isbell.
Is he from around here?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
And then my number 1 that I listen to all the time is Drew Holcomb.
Okay.
And he's got Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. And I love Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors.
Okay. All right. Drew Holcomb.
So it's more, it's Americana with just a little bit of country. Drew Holcomb did this cool thing during COVID. Him and his wife would record Facebook because his wife's a singer too. And they would record covers of great songs in their kitchen with just a guitar. And once they could get back in the studio, they then took all those songs and they recorded them on 3 vinyls.
Nice.
And so I actually have the vinyls signed that I play of all their covers.
Oh, cool.
So their original stuff is great, but then it's cool to hear them sing.
Yeah.
And they're singing classic stuff, like they're like Johnny Cash and Dolly Parton,
Okay, very nice.
Just really
good stuff.
So that's that would be my favorite.
Oh, I do like Johnny Cash. I should have said that when I was talking about country.
Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors.
Yeah.
And if you know Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors and you're listening to this, tell them that I say hi, and please, I would love to meet them.
All right. Y'all pass that on. Okay, last book you read was The Terminal List. I still need to see that show.
So good.
Yeah,
and so I kind
of... By the way, Jack Carr, episode 56 of At the Mic, if you want to go back and check the archive.
Okay.
You mentioned Brad Thor earlier,
Yep.
big fan of your book, Finding Rest.
Yep.
Brad Thor was episode 58.
Wow, I love how you have that in your head.
No, that's what I've been looking at over here on the computer screen while you've been talking.
So it's funny. I read fiction. I listen to nonfiction. Okay.
Read fiction, listen to nonfiction.
So I have actually read and listened to more books this year than ever in my life.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
So the last book I finished reading was The Terminal List.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently reading Brad Thor's Rising Tiger.
Okay, yeah.
His newest one. Fell asleep reading that last night. Not because it was boring, but because...
And that's the problem with reading in bed. It happens to every single one of us. You open the book,
and then
you're
I have
like,
to go back.
I'm gonna read an entire chapter of this book tonight. And then you wake up like an hour later and you're like, wait, why did I get to page 2?
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah, exhausted. Yeah.
Or like I read on my Kindle, but so I'll like bookmark it and I'll be like, I don't remember any of this page.
I know. Oh, that's the other thing. That's the other thing that happens. Now, the favorite book you've read is The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. I have not read that.
So C.S. Lewis is my favorite
And that's
author.
who you would go back in time to visit if you go to a historical
Absolutely.
figure. It's a good one.
I'm a huge C.S. Lewis fan. I named my son after C.S. Lewis.
That's cool, dude.
So now CS stands for Clive Staples. I did not name my son Clive Staples. That would be weird.
That would have been bold, though.
It would have been bold. But J.R.R. Tolkien and a lot of C.S. Lewis's contemporaries, like, he was affectionately called Jack.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
it was just hitting me. I knew that. It was just hitting me when I was like, wait a minute. I didn't even have to flip back. I was like, Jack, yeah. Just as you were saying it. Very cool.
So my son's name is Jack Lewis.
I love it.
And so I just, The Abolition of Man is such an important book that I reread it every year. It's short. It is so important right now. It is all about breaking down relativism. It is an assault on the relativistic culture that we live in right
you
now.
You can read it today for sure.
Oh yeah, now more than, and so that's why I reread it every year, because to your point, we are getting assaulted with messages every day, and one of the basis of a lot of it is relativism. Find your truth. There is no universal truth. What I say is true. If I experience it, then it's absolute truth, right?
Yeah.
I can, I can be whoever I want, whatever I want, whenever I want. And so the Abolition of Man is it's so interesting. I think it was written in the 50s or 60s.
But it applies.
And it applies today. Like
probably better.
You see the roots. I mean, he foresaw it as a problem back then, and yet I can only imagine.
Yeah.
His words are still relevant today. I would give anything to have him write just even an article on what's happening today.
Right.
With how relativistic we've come. So I actually make sure to read that book every year. So it's just fresh, right? It's just, because you're constantly being accosted and assaulted with a relativistic worldview.
Yeah. And that's one of those book titles that I've seen. Like, here are all the books written by C.S. Lewis, but I had no idea of anything about it until now. Thank you. Ironically enough, speaking of Jack, the trivia of C.S. Lewis and John F. Kennedy. Yeah. So C.S. Lewis died on the same day that JFK was assassinated.
You know what? I did not realize that.
And that was just buried in history that the man never got his due because
I did not realize
that chaos was going on in the world. Yeah.
So my wife and I, in 2019, we started planning a trip for 2020, and we were going to go to we had it all. We hadn't bought the tickets, but we had the itinerary all planned out. Mm-hmm. And we were going to go to London, and we were going to visit C.S. You can visit his house.
Wow,
You can go to the pub where him and Tolkien came up with the concepts for the Chronicles of Narnia and Lord of the Rings, and where they bantered back and forth about it. And it's one of my, COVID took away a lot of stuff from us, right? But the fact that I didn't go on that trip and couldn't go on that trip.
See, you missed out on a much cooler trip than me and my family missed out on. We just missed out on
Brownsville,
Disney World. But your story's better because that's an experience. I bet. You'll get there, and maybe you'll get there with your kids, and they'll appreciate it.
That's true.
With you.
That's true. Although my daughter is like her favorite animal is a koala, and so she made me promise that her and I are taking a trip to Australia to go visit koalas. So.
Yeah, good luck not getting detained. Here's a thought for you, though. You need to really condition your kids. I don't want to say condition. That has a negative connotation. you actually need to make sure that your children have a deep appreciation for C.S. Lewis so that they will want to go on this trip with you someday.
That's very true. And so actually, my daughter and I, there's a really well done audiobook version of the Chronicles of Narnia. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just a guy reading it. It's like voice actors and like, there's sound effects in the background.
That sounds good, dude.
Yeah. And so we've started listening to that, and she loves it.
That's awesome.
And that's what I love about C.S. Lewis, right? You listen to him, you read the Chronicles of Narnia as a child, and then you're introduced to his stuff, and you're like, there's some trust there, and it's like,
right, that's a good point.
This is that guy. I mean, if Disney's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do it, right?
Somebody should rank the C.S. Lewis books in maturity level. You know what I'm saying? Like, you start with Chronicles of Narnia, and by the time you get to Screw Tape Letters or something at the other end,
Yes.
I will say the closest I ever came to wanting to be in theater or acting was I went to a performance at the Cobb Civic Center in Marietta, Georgia, and it was Chronicles of Narnia. It was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that was as close as I came to wanting to actually get in that business. Right there is C.S. Lewis on stage.
There's a great actor, Max Mclean. He does a lot of like one-man shows. He does, like, when I was going to school and living in New York, he did a variation of the Screw Tape Letters on stage, and just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Now, someone who is very similar in stature to C.S. Lewis would be Ben Stiller. Right? By the way, Ben Stiller, if you fine folks want to go to YouTube after this conversation with Jon Seidl, I keep trying to pronounce it right,
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
atone for your sins.
Right. Oh my gosh, more C.S. Lewis talk. No, you go to YouTube and you go to type in Travis Band Closer. There's a video by the band that I love, Travis, and they did a song called Closer, a music video, and there's a cameo of one Ben Stiller in it, and it's absolutely hysterical. So, but you almost ran into him on the streets of Queens.
So when I
like literally almost ran into him.
So when I was at the Blaze, and we were all in New York still. So I, as managing editor, like, my shift started really early. Like, I would start at like 5 a.m, right? Because part of what my job was to find interesting stories and to basically, I mean, you know this as a producer, you prep the show, right? You prep for the morning, and so I would have a list of stories for people to look into, to make calls on, and kind of all that stuff. So my day would start at 5 a.m. Well, by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then my day was done, right? Because I mean, I was just a pumpkin, and so what that meant is I would get done with work about 3 p.m, and I would have 2.5, 3 hours to myself before my wife got home from work.
Okay.
And so we were living in Queens, and I'm a huge wing connoisseur. Like I know
a huge wing.
Yeah, like buffalo wings.
Oh, hot wings, stuff like that.
So I put there, Chinese food is my favorite, like, guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
But right, like, it's like 1A and 1B.
Okay.
But I also don't consider wings guilty, you know what I mean? Like, because I can pretend that they're healthy.
Okay, yeah.
So all that to say, in Queens, I found my favorite place that I could get wings. And I don't even think it's in existence anymore. It was called 5 Napkin Burger. And they had this place in Queens. And so at 3 o'clock, I'm on happy hour, right? So I would go, I would have some beers, I would have wings.
How did we never do a happy hour in New York, you and I?
I know. And they would have like hand rolled sushi rolls, and like, it was awesome. So I'd go there a lot of days at 3 o'clock, have a beer or two, have some wings, and that would be like my late lunch, and then my wife and I would eat when we got home. Well, this restaurant in Queens, people may or may not know this, but Sesame Street is filmed in Queens.
Oh, they do it right there?
Astoria Kaufman or Kaufman Astoria Studios.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, good.
And so it's a studio like Mercury Studios where we are. I mean, there's a lot of things that film in here, and there's a lot of time or a lot of room. And so they actually film a lot of other shows or movies on these sound stages. And so I'm walking back from one of my happy hours, and literally...
How happy were you at that point?
Yeah, right.
That's what I want to know.
I mean, good. Like,
You're doing well.
realizing, I had all my faculties.
Okay, good. All right, good.
I'm walking past Kaufman Astoria Studios, and out, like, I'm kind of looking down. You know how it is in New York. Like, you don't look, you kind of just look down.
Yeah, well, the tourists look up.
Yes.
And those of us with places to go look down.
Right. So
Because you don't want to make eye contact with people.
Exactly. So I'm walking out, and I'm kind of, focused down, and literally, like, I kind of do like the old, like, oh, whoops, sorry, and kind of scoot around this guy as he's coming out the door. And then, like, it took my brain a minute, and I'm like, wait a second, I know that guy, or that guy's familiar.
Yeah.
And I look back, and as he's getting into his limo, he just gives me one of those, yep.
That's me.
Like in my head, I'm like, wait, are you?
Yeah.
He didn't have to hear me say it. He heard me say it in my mind, and he just looks at me and he's like, yep. And I will say, there's a lot of jokes about Ben Stiller's height and whatnot. He is as short as you.
Wow, how tall?
Like, oh my gosh.
Do you know?
I mean, so I'm 5'6". I think he's a little shorter than me. And if the internet says he's taller than 5'6", the internet is lying. It's like those guys on,
I'm seeing 5'6" and I'm seeing 5'7" everywhere, but you're saying no.
Oh no, dude, that
at least 5. No taller than 5'5"?
No taller than 5'5". No taller than 5'5".
He does not look short when you watch him in movies.
Well, it's kind of like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like
how tall is he?
Tom Cruise is about that.
Oh, wow.
I think Tom Cruise is like 5'6", 5'7".
Huh.
And
5'7", yeah.
Yeah, so you would never know that, right?
Well, all these pictures of him and other celebrities popped up when I typed that in, and they're all kind of like
hunching down,
nonchalantly, kind of.
But can I tell you this? The reason I ended up with my wife's a blonde bombshell. She's 5'8", right?
Okay.
I'm 5'6". And I think there are a lot of people, even people listening to this, who they don't like to date shorter men.
Yeah. Could be a deal breaker.
Right. And so, but my wife said the reason that she never gave it a second thought is she said, yeah, that is true that a lot of times taller women don't like to date shorter men. But she said it's because they have short man syndrome. Like they're always trying to.
Napoleon type
Yes,
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. She goes, she's like, it's like you don't realize you're short. And I'm like, okay, great. She's like, the confidence that you have, like, you don't like shrink or try to make yourself taller when you're around me, so she's like, you don't have short man syndrome, and that's why I was attracted to you.
Good for you.
I'm like,
man.
I thought it was my brazenly good looks and charm.
That's totally what it is. Okay, so you like to play the drums?
I am a drummer. I taught myself how to play drums when I was young.
Man.
Just picked it up. And
by the way, episode 90, Jesse Haliwa, a local weatherman here in Dallas-Fort Worth.
I know, WFAA.
Yeah, he was. He and I have talked forever, and it came up on our conversation that he's going to teach me how to play this one Toad the Wet Sprocket song, and we never did sync up on that, so maybe I'll have to pass the baton to you on getting that done.
Let's come on.
Okay. All right, so anyway, you taught yourself.
Yeah, so taught myself how to play drums, like played in the church for since starting when I was 12. And have played ever since. I haven't played as much recently because I actually haven't gotten into more of the media side. I volunteer at my church, and they're like, hey, we need you we need you directing our live stream.
Yeah.
And kind of that. So I gave up the drums to direct the live stream and help on the media side. But I'm
a nice guy.
I'm a tapper, right?
That's where I drum. That's all I do. That's all I can do, though. I can't take sticks and do that,
It drives my wife crazy sometimes. She'll just kind of put her hand over.
I got it.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, man. Is there your go-to song that you like? If someone says, "Hey, play something for me, John," or is it just
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I have a go-to beat that like that I'll like. Yes, yeah.
I mean, everybody does that, right?
It's just.
I wish I could just do that.
Yeah. But since I taught myself, I lack a lot of the fundamental skills.
Oh, okay.
So I just there are people that are way better than me because they actually know what they're doing. I just play by ear and feel.
Yeah. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's go back 8 years. Let's also point out it wasn't happy hour. No alcohol was involved.
No alcohol involved.
But you were at a wedding. Thankfully, not your wedding. 8 years ago, you were an adult. What happened? How? I mean, I can't even believe you wrote this on here. You pooped in your pants.
Yeah, this is.
Al Roker style?
Oh, it was, yes.
Oh, do we want to tell this story?
Yeah, because I have learned to celebrate my failures.
Okay. Good for you.
So 8 years ago, I was actually on a diet at the time. Okay. And so some friends of ours were getting married. And we actually like helped them through like their premarital work, you know, like making sure they're compatible and through our church and stuff. And so, we get to the wedding. I had been on a diet and we show up and the food that was catered in was like Maggiano's Little Italy, you know, Italian. So like as carb, cream heavy, like everything was just heavy, right?
Okay.
I had been eating like salads for like 2 months, you know? So I get there and I'm like, well, I got to eat something. Like I'm dying.
Yeah.
And so I start eating and I didn't even go all out, man. It's not like I like tore into the lasagna and just like gorged myself. But, you know, I had some bruschetta, started there, maybe had like a little Alfredo, maybe like one bun, breadstick.
Mm-hmm. Plain and smart, you think?
I am not kidding you. Within 10 minutes, my stomach just drops. And it is...
This ain't salad, yo.
No, right. Like, it's like, oh, what have you done?
Oh, no.
And so it's the reception. And so I go to one of the groomsmen who I know, and I said, hey, Chris, where's the bathroom? He's like, oh, it's like right around the corner there. I'm like, okay. So I go to the bathroom. And I'm telling you, the engineers who built this place, they need to have bamboo shoots under their fingernails because they created a bathroom in a reception hall that was a 1-stall men's bathroom. 1 urinal, 1 stall. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I kind of do the thing. I go in there and I could see someone was in there, but you do the thing where you pull on the door just so that they know you're there waiting.
It's like an unspoken rule. Like, I'm here.
Right.
Well, you don't have to say, hey, who's in there?
Right.
Can you come out? Oh, okay.
But I can see, so it's like a polished concrete floor, so I can see that the guy's just like candy crushing it.
On his phone.
Right.
No, this ain't, bro, this is a bathroom.
Right. When it's a 1-staller at a reception.
That's
like,
a fair point, too.
You have to be like, this ain't.
I don't have options.
Yes.
Let's go.
So I kind of wait around and my stomach, like I can just feel it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So.
And you have no idea who's in there.
No, and he's not getting the hint. So I go back out and I go to
I'd be banging on that door.
I go to the groomsmen again. And I said, is there any other bathroom? He goes, no. So I go back into the bathroom. I do that again.
Yeah.
I do the door thing. And I can see he still like doesn't flinch. Like just, you know, Candy Crush.
Does he say anything?
Nothing.
He doesn't say
and
occupy, doesn't say one moment, oh, sorry.
And I let out the old like, you know, so he knows. Nothing. So I'm like, I'm going to have to go in this urinal.
Yeah.
Something.
Somebody better not walk in.
Right. And so I finally, like, one last ditch effort. I come out of the bathroom. I go to the groomsmen again, and I say,
I bet you're sweating now.
Oh, I am.
You're just
absolutely
beating
sweating.
up. Oh,
absolutely sweating. I go to the groomsmen and I say, Chris, this is an emergency. Like, because it was like there was a wedding chapel and then the reception hall, and they were separated. You know. So I said, are you sure there's no other? He's like, I think in the wedding chapel there's one.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. This was 8 years ago?
Yeah.
So you couldn't have gotten away with going in the women's bathroom.
Yeah.
Like if it were today.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
Well, so I go. So he's like, here, I'll walk you there. Okay. So he's walking me there. And bro, I'm just like.
Right. Now your gait is changing.
Oh, yes.
You're like, don't walk so fast, bro.
But then he starts like, hey, how's life? You know, and I'm giving him just real short because I'm like, if I utter one more word than necessary, this is going to end badly.
Right.
So he finally escorts me into the bathroom, and it's where like all the groomsmen like got changed and kind of all that stuff, right? And so I'm like, okay, great, thanks. Okay, so I'm like, okay, all right, I think I'm gonna make it. I close the door, I get my pants all undone, and I go to pull them down. I was in a suit. You know what got me?
Cummerbund. No.
The inside button. So my body had timed this perfectly. Timed the perfect release.
That's awesome.
And did not account. For the fact that in a suit you have that extra button on the inside. And bro, it just started coming. It just started, and
you were like literally hovering.
Yes.
You're like, I'm here. Stop.
Yes.
I got it. I did my best.
Yes. And but it gets better.
Oh no.
So it's just all over my pants, in my underwear, and here I am, a grown man sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, my wife texts me. Because it's been like an hour.
Yeah, because you're not carrying an extra pair of clothes,
No.
an extra suit for the wedding.
No. So she goes, where are you? Everyone's asking where you are. And I said, babe, you need to come immediately to the wedding chapel bathroom. I said, I've had an accident. And so she comes. Oh, no. Guys, she walks in.
Oh, no.
And the look on her face, because what had happened is, I had gotten to the point where I started trying to clean myself up. What I didn't account for was that this stuff was in my underwear, and as I was trying to take off my boxer briefs, the elastic band acted like a slingshot and slung poo all over the ceiling and the wall. So as I'm trying, like I literally looked like a monkey that had flung poo in the bathroom for an hour. It's just all over the place.
Here's what your wife should have said. Tell you what, I'm gonna go and tell the wedding party that you're dead, and then they won't ask where you are anymore.
So
is there a back way out? Is there any way just to get out? Forget the wedding. I'm going home, man.
So she walks in and she's like, okay. And so we kind of like take it step by step. So we like put my pants underneath the sink. We at least get them washed out. We put my shirt under the sink. We get that washed out. We throw my underwear. We put them in a bag.
Good
we
night.
Throw them away.
It's
right?
over.
But she's like, hey, listen, they're about to do pictures. And since we did their premarital counseling, we're required.
I can't stand next to anyone. It smells.
Right. So long story short.
Oh, no.
She's like, we have to do the pictures.
Then you're going to be out there just buck naked.
Luckily, I didn't have my, I had left my suit jacket in the reception hall. So she goes and gets my suit jacket. We put it on, and this was a summer wedding in Texas. Oh. So even though my shirt was wet, it just looked like I was like getting busy on the dance floor, like maybe I was just sweating. And the suit jacket at least covered the back of my pants.
Okay.
And so we went in there. She tells the bride and groom, hey, I know we're doing pictures. We just got to do them real quick. We just got a call from the babysitter.
Oh, gosh.
And we have to leave. And so the greatest thing is that there are pictures of me with the bride and groom. And like a month later, I got to tell them, guys, see that picture that we took together? Yeah. I had just pooped my pants.
They didn't smell anything?
No.
They were oblivious?
They were oblivious.
Well, then you should have not told them.
But it's one of those stories that's so incredible. Yeah. And again, no alcohol involved. Maggiano's Little Italy restaurant. Thank you for literally exploding me at a wedding.
John.
So that's my most embarrassing story.
No, that qualifies, definitely. Okay. Well, look, if you want more unvarnished truth, you got to get Finding Rest. You like that?
I like that.
I mean, I try.
You're a professional.
Yeah, sure. Finding Rest, an invitation to grow deeper if you struggle with anxiety, OCD, any really mental struggle, right?
Yeah. And that's going to be the title of the workbook. The other one is just Finding Rest, and it's got a longer subtitle.
Okay. Amazon, other places.
But just go to Amazon.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And on social media, I can't find you. Why can't I find you on Twitter? What is it?
At Jon Seidl, JonSeidl. And that's what yeah.
Because I found a Jon Seidl. Hang on a second. Hang on.
Is he impostering me?
I don't know. But I'm not going to do this right now. Okay, so hang on a second. So where are you on Twitter again?
JonSeidl.
SEIDL. Okay, so look for Jon Seidl
on Twitter, and we're gonna have pictures of the tattoos when this posts, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thanks I appreciate you making time here for At the Mic. Thank you very much,
Keith,
sir.
you're the best. This has been great. Just two friends catching up. Love
Yes,
it.
sir. Oh, by the way, look, I found my
Oh yeah, Coolidge.
my Calvin Coolidge 3D printed thing.
That's all. Yeah, Georgie and Calvin.
Man, Jon is such a great guy, and I do hope you were able to take something away from today's chat that is able to help you in your life. Great guy, Jon Seidl. Now, next week, as we round out my Blaze Connections month of interviews on the podcast, I'm going to sit down with Aaron McIntyre from the Blaze's Steve Deace program. Now, in previous episodes, I've sat down with the other two gentlemen who make up the Steve Deace program. Of course, Steve Deace himself, that was episode 17, and one of his producers, Todd Erzin, that was episode 64. So coming up next week, we're going to round out the trifecta with Mr. Aaron McIntyre. Now, until we meet again, I sure would appreciate it if you would just take a moment to rate and review this podcast. If you feel that it earns 5 stars, please do rate it as such over at Apple iTunes, Spotify. Don't forget you can drop us a note through the website at themicshow.com. There's also the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/atthemic with Keith. Your subscribing over there would be so greatly appreciated. It does help more people find this show. And if you could tell your family and friends about this podcast, I would certainly be very grateful for that as well. And you know I repeat it because I mean it. Until next time, I do hope you will go be free. And I thank you for listening.
This has been At the Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production. Head to atthemicshow.com for archived episodes, sponsor information, and ways to connect.